I am JP Ocampo. I had entered this life with many challenges. I was born with a cleft lip and palate and bilateral microtia. This means that my left ear is underdeveloped and yung right ear ko never formed. As a result, I have profound hearing loss on my right side and I rely mostly on my left ear to hear. From birth, I faced medical and developmental challenges, particularly with feeding, speech, and hearing. And I wore a hearing aid for most of my childhood. My parents also struggled with their own medical issues. My mother had lupus during her pregnancy, which contributed to my complications while I was in the womb. She continued to face frequent surgeries and hospitalizations after I was born. My dad was an ER doctor, therefore, I was no stranger to beeping machines and doctor's visits, both for my mom's health and mine. At 2 years old, after the surgeries, my dad was finally comfortable enough to introduce me to the rest of the family. He had been deeply ashamed that his son, a doctor's child, was born with so many congenital deficiencies. With what they could afford, my parents gave me the necessary medical care and I was placed in special schools to help me overcome my hearing and speech difficulties. They even wrote letters to my school requesting that I be seated at the front and exempted from the school's haircut policy, so my hearing aid could be covered up. My parents struggled with their relationship and eventually separated. I witnessed their fights while trying to focus on my studies, and I saw my dad smoke late at night after coming home from the ER. My mom cried at night, ashamed of the weight gain from her steroid treatments. Her life was going to be short, but that was just the beginning. As I entered my teen years, my life took a tragic turn. My dad was diagnosed with stage 4 tongue cancer. Years of smoking has caught up with him. He refused surgery and I watched as the cancer slowly ravaged him. He passed away when I was 14 years old. Just a few months later, my mother suffered her second stroke, which left her bedridden for 4 years, and she eventually passed away when I was 17. I was left to cope with the loss of both parents, all while wrestling with insecurities and questions about my identity and my faith. All along, my wonderful grandmother took me in and supported my education and musical endeavors. But for years, I struggled with feelings of inadequacy, questioning my self-worth, sexuality, and whether God was really in control of my life. After all, why would I follow a God who took my parents way too soon and gave me all of these defects? Would I even find love in a world that values physical beauty? But in the midst of the pain, something in me began to love music. It was my refuge. Despite all my hearing challenges, I found joy in serving in the CCF music ministry. But as I served, I faced depression, bitterness, and thoughts of suicide. I was fighting a battle within myself while pretending to be okay on the outside. I developed toxic leadership habits that hurt others in the music ministry. But when I was 19 at a CCF retreat, God broke through, and there I truly understood God's love for me. As I played the piano during the worship session, I heard God's quiet but powerful voice saying, "Don't you know I love you? I created and planned for you. You are here playing for me. Is it an accident? This is where I want you to be." It was then that I truly surrendered everything to God. I genuinely accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior and made a covenant to love and to serve Him all my life. I gave up my harsh ways as a music director and learned to be kind and gentle with other musicians and singers. Even with all the challenges I grew up with, the cleft lip, hearing loss, surgeries, bullying, hospital visits, and losing both my parents, I've come to realize that none of it was a mistake. God intended for me to be here, to serve Him in music, and to minister to the world. Psalms 139 reminded me that God saw me, formed me, and wrote every single day of my life before I took my first breath. For so long, I thought I was defective, a disposable burden. But now I know the truth that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. The enemy tried to steal my joy, distort my identity, and silence my faith. But Christ secured everything, not just survival, but life to the full. I was placed exactly where God wanted me to be. From a life of doubt came a life of blessing and security in the Lord. Since then, God has called me to be part of His flock and to serve at the CCF Exalt Ministry as the music production coordinator. I lead worship with the music team every Sunday behind those curtains over there. By God's grace, I was also given the opportunity to join the Patwuri music team for their album launch in 2023 and to participate in the worship conference in 2024. What once seemed impossible because of my conditions became a testimony of God's faithfulness and power. From a person with disabilities to a person with these abilities, I can declare and testify that my life is living proof that the Lord loves me, has a plan for me, and will continue to use me the way He intended. Once again, I'm JP Ocampo. To God be the glory.
Hallelujah.